So I think we were here. यहाँ पे third paragraph है ना, ये कर लिया था. We wanted to start with here. For all problems. Yeah.
Do I read?
You read, and I think you can don't read the whole paragraph at once, है
Yeah,
ना?
yeah. Okay.
एक minute. Let me see. Let's stop somewhere. Yeah, here, endeavor. Yeah.
Okay. For all problems of existence are essentially problems of harmony. How interesting. They arise from the perception of an unsolved discord and the instinct of an undiscovered agreement or unity. They arise from the perception of an unsolved discord, and the instinct of an undiscovered agreement or unity. To rest content with an unsolved discord is possible for the practical and more animal part of man, but impossible for his fully awakened mind, and usually, even in his practical parts, only escape from the general necessity either by shutting out the problem or by accepting a rough, utilitarian, and unillumined compromise.
If you want, we can stop here also, because
This is what I was thinking.
There's already so much here. Yeah.
And it's so amazing that if we ask somebody, or if I ask myself, what is your problem? I can just start with the whole, how they show in movies, ki pura scroll khul sakta hai. If either I can say nothing, right? But if I actually want to go down and write my problems, and yet he's saying that all of them have the same root, and that's harmony. Right? Arise from the perception. It's my perception that there's an unsolved discord and the instinct of an undiscovered agreement. Personally also I felt this. I've just realized that I felt this. I didn't realize it before. That we feel that, okay, maybe this relation can be better, right? Or this thing can be simpler. And of course it can be. But what if this is what I, not what if, but this is what I needed. This is what I need to. One thing is me trying to improve the relationship. The second thing is the relationship trying to improve me, right? So the first most priority is my growth, my development. And for that, this particular situation, this incident, this strategy, this relationship is or was needed, and it's there, right? Like, so this perception of discord, like it feels that discord is the way at times, on this path, and yet it's very nice to see the perception of unsolved discord and the instinct of an undiscovered agreement.
I think this would be the cause of frustrations in our relationships, that there is an instinct which we are not even aware of, कि कह नहीं सकते कि क्या चाहते हैं, really not really, putting it into words clearly, but somewhere we all have a knowing, which we ourselves are not aware of, that this can be better, this there is a higher unity possible, but we ourselves are not aware of that instinct in us towards this unity and harmony. Yeah. मतलब जैसे होता है ना कि एक होने की बात करते हैं कि हम सब एक हैं, अब एक तो सब होना चाहते हैं, इंटेंशन देखें तो सब चाहते हैं कि disharmony now, mostly, most of us who are not really too evil, so to say, but हमें एक होने का मतलब तरीका नहीं मिलता कि कैसे ओपिनियंस नहीं मिलते, आइडियाज नहीं मिलते, विचारधारा नहीं मिलती, कैसे कैसे एक सो कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा लगता है कि एक walk, we have to walk towards harmony in our oblivion. We don't really know about it, and yet we keep on living in this disharmony all the time. I think it's the case with most of the relationships, that there is that the intimate you go in a relationship, I think there you get to know how much of disharmony is. Otherwise पता भी नहीं लगता कि disharmony है, क्योंकि इतने distances होते हैं in people's living in the same house that we don't even know that there is any disharmony. So that's what he says, later on, that this compromise, unillumined compromise, most of us, we are living in this state of unillumined compromise, that इसने अपना डिपार्टमेंट संभाल लिया, उसने अपना संभाल लिया, there is no interconnection, no communication, and that's what we call as harmony. कि सब ठीक तो है. Or we shut out the problem. Yeah, sorry, please.
I was saying, can relationship with myself also, right? Like, उसमें भी ये harmony का कई बार, like again, like with everybody else,
Yeah.
the one I have with myself also, mostly when I am like, frustrated or irritated, it's the harmony. That's like, why is it not happening?
Mother says about disease also, about disharmony. Yeah. And also this, as you're saying, that within myself, as if I'm not able to relate with my contradicting parts, है ना, मतलब so उनमें आपस में कोई बातचीत नहीं है, कोई relation नहीं है. The illumined part is there, then the darker parts are there. So it's as if कि एक अंदर chaos मचा हुआ है, and yeah.
And like not you said, समझ नहीं आ रहा है ना. Like sometimes when a kid is like overtired and he's crying also, he's cranking also, he's demanding also, that sentence that you use, like चाहता क्या है ना. Like sometimes we ask, okay, what do you want? How do I help you? And at times it doesn't want to be, I don't know, like it's very it's amazing how बस पता है कुछ चाहिए but ये नहीं पता.
I think that's where the part of just holding your parts comes, just allowing. And many a times we confuse it with following the dictates of, so there is one thing which is called allowing the feeling or sensation to be, and then parallelly I can confuse it with to follow the dictate of the ripple of anger, and they are different. They are different.
And this thing about perception of an unsolved discord instead of undiscovered unity. That is the reason why, especially in some relationships which really had touched us at one point, we have felt that unity, that we have felt that part within us come out, and we have mistaken it to the other, right? That he has or she has given me that sense of peace or joy or that fulfillment.
Yes.
And it's so fleeting that, before mostly the relationship starts, mostly it's there, but as soon as you give relationship names, it evaporates, because then it's not the freshness, the trueness, right? It's just the images and tags. And that is, I think, again, undiscovered unity. It was about to be discovered. That was the reason why I wanted to hold that hand in the first place. And where is it?
I think Rupert Spira really shares something here which has stayed with me so far, because he shares that when, so for example, if I have a desire to meet a person, and the promise is that I will get fulfillment, that's what you were sharing, that the promise is that if I fulfill this desire, I will be fulfilled, right? So the first time this happens, I feel that fulfillment, okay? And he says that it's not because of the other person or the ice cream or whatever chocolate that I got. Because of that, I felt fulfilled. That's what our illusion is. And that's why we run after that person again. but now that person has been with me for so many years, but I don't have the experience of that fulfillment. So it's not true that the person was responsible for giving me fulfillment. What really happened, that's what he shares, that in the moment of fulfillment of desire, the black cloud of another desire on the blue sky of my being of awareness is not present. जैसे imagine करो कि मुझे बहुत तेज चाय पीने की तलब हो रही है, in the moment of having tea, I'm feeling this joy and contentment, not because I'm having tea, because many a times it happens that I'm having tea but not feeling joy at all. In that moment of having tea, there is no further desire obscuring my true being. And that shines forward, it comes to front. And that's the fulfillment I feel. The absence of desire, actually, that's the fulfillment I feel. But I ascribe it to, oh my God, that was great. Let me have it again. So the ego ascribes it to the object of fulfillment. And that is our cause of misery. We run after, say, alcohol, addiction, people, situations. And no person, no situation can give me that again. And even if it comes again for a moment, as you said, it's comes and goes, gone again, another desire, feeling still incomplete. Yeah.
While you were speaking, something just came to me that ego wants division, right? Ego is standing on the fact that I am different than you. And what I'm seeking is harmony. And in harmony, if you just visualize it, there is a oneness, right? There's a sea that flows from me to you. And so, how is it even possible, right? Like from the ego, I mean, if there is ego, which there is most of the time, it wants isolation, it wants division. And here I'm saying that oneness nahi feel ho rahi. I am the one standing on, with my hand, okay, dude, like I'm different than you. And then I'm saying I'm not feeling one with you. How paradoxical.
Yeah.
To rest content with an unsolved discord is possible for the practical and more animal part of man. Somehow this is also feeling like how, it's there that ego is the helper, ego is the bar, desire is, that thing. Like, if I look at myself, if say I was at one point in a lot of chaos outside, let me talk about, say, a home, a relationship, for me to actually just gain some level of calmness or stillness from which I could develop further, first I needed to distance myself, right? Like here, where it says that it is possible to stay okay with unsolved discord. Because it's like discord will never be solved, right? And you reach a place where you are stepped away that, okay, I'm not part of that discord anymore, or I don't want to be. And from there, if there is grace, right? Like some light dawns but that also feels like a step, right? That one needs to step back. For the practical, yeah, exactly, right? For all practical purposes, for your sanity. At that time, you have to step back. But impossible for a fully awakened mind, and usually even in its practical path, only escapes from the and usually even its practical paths only escape from the general necessity, either by shutting out the problem or by accepting a rough detail.
This reminds me of that image of cow we were discussing that day. A cow sitting in the middle of all the chaos and being okay with that. So a cow can do that. A cow, for a cow or another animal who is in the middle of the dirt and drain and all the kachra and chaos, it's okay, it doesn't affect me as long as I'm okay, but we are not content. We cannot be content in discontent. I think that's what Krishnamurti also stresses again and again, that if you are discontent with the way society is, preserve that discontent. Do not let it fade away, because that is what will lead to perfection, for example, in the society. Because if I am a cow and it doesn't bother to me what kind of a society I'm living in, then there would be no march towards perfection or wanting to change things for the better. So this is where I think Mother also shares that only human being has the capacity to self-exceed. That, okay, I know where I am today, but I know that I can be at a better place. This can be better, in the family also, in the workplace also, other relationships. This can be better globally, how we take care of earth, and if I rest content with bhaiya yahi hai, this is what we have, and जितने साल लिखी है अर्थ की लाइफ उतनी है, मतलब हम तो अपने आप को चेंज नहीं कर सकते, then nothing is going to really happen. And that's the difference, animal and fully awakened mind. When he says that, Ramdas shares that if you really want to check your enlightenment status, go and stay with your family. So that's where we are, that we have discords, and no matter how enlightened we may consider ourselves to be. Yeah.
When I used to watch movies, like the regular family ones, and before that, these serials that we have now, that it's like this Discord thing. Their whole series that started, I don't know, 10 years back or something. They are based on this Discord, right? Like all those family dramas, because everybody could maybe relate to some extent. But what I was about to say was that when I watch a movie and I see two or three people not in harmony with each other, and there's a small everyday thing, it's painful, right? It feels it's so simple. No, why can't they just move this here and move that there and all the pieces would fit? And I've often seen myself standing in that position, fighting and wondering that why can't this be harmonious, right? Like when it comes to me, it feels my stand is important, right? Like harmony takes a second step to what I want to be. I don't know what I want to be known or communicated, and hence discord, right? Like it's, yeah,
Yeah,
but you would
absolutely.
always want that, right? Like if
Yeah.
you see somebody shouting at someone,
Mm,
suddenly you feel that sinking feeling, right? Like
mm, mm,
times that it's not nice, it's not, you don't want it to be there,
mm,
but you can do it. Then it's not that sinking, maybe later, but
mm.
again, yeah,
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
dynamic.
I think this is very important, the thing that you shared, that we partner with the egoistic state and keep harmony at bay, because we are partnering. So the ego wants to be fulfilled कि भाई मेरे को मैं सुपीरियर हो जाऊं या वट एवर इंफीरियर हो जाऊं और उसका रस ले सकूं, ट्रुथ गई भाड़ में. So as if we keep postponing the harmony which we can have owing to the fact that we have free will, बट उससे वो बड़प्पन नहीं मिलेगा ईगो की कि मैं सही था और तुम गलत थे. And this yesterday something happened in our community. So a couple kind of acted in a rude behavior with a GB member and a person Mali attending the cutting off, trimming of the trees. So he was shouting in the way that how can you do this, and I will complain, and they don't cut the trees or whatever, something like that. So there was this discussion on our group that rude behavior is not accepted, period. So, and I could feel that as if we want to take a pleasure out of putting someone down and making us feel superior, that we are not rude and that person is rude, so let us catch that person, and make him show that he's a criminal or something. And I usually don't talk much in the, just because I don't have much experience, but this place I said that if we all have been rude at some point of times, we cannot exclude that thing. Just because you are a member of GB and you have a little authority, you cannot really criminalize a person if he has been rude. Now, we don't know what the situation was at his home or emotional, the well-being or whatever. So that's what I was trying to, I don't know how much it is taken up, but I was trying to share that if someone else has lost his peace, we don't have to lose our peace. We can just talk to a person on the same ground, knowing that we have been rude at some point of time also. So I could see that as if the ego takes this pleasure out of this disharmony, as you were sharing, that truth को नीचे बैठा के कि उसमें वो सेल्फ सेटिस्फैक्शन नहीं मिलती ना कि कोई बड़ा हुआ और कोई छोटा हुआ. So I think this is a sadistic kind of a rush that we get, juice that we get out of these situations, and that keeps it going. उसी से रस ले लेके और पता नहीं लगता है कि हम अपना ही खून चूस रहे हैं. ये नहीं पता लगता है. ऐसा लगता है कि किसी और का घाटा या मुनाफा हो रहा है. But as you were saying earlier, that we have become the brick wall between our own truth, harmony, and the oneness that we want to feel with others. But we don't realize it. We think it's the outer situation. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It was very visual also. And I think it made me realize in a very fresh, new way. And it's weird why I didn't see it like this before. That say when I'm calling, say I call you rude, okay, that you're so rude. That moment, I'm saying I am not rude, right? Like my ego is so sitting on the high Himalayas that this person, she gets like this or that, like that, but me, I am to Sida, Ram ka avatar or whatever. So how much ego there is and unkindness and divisions, right? And again, gossiping, like, heavily criticized. And anytime I tell somebody that you are below, right? Like you are at fault, how much ego I am kind of, sitting on. I don't know. I just realized that with this example. I think that's why, mother, she says now that if there's anything in the other, just look at yourself, that when did I do it, right? Like you see somebody doing something and just correct it in yourself, just correct it in yourself. That makes so much more sense to me now.
I think she says two things at once at another place. She says that if there is no point of complaining, something about that if you have the power to transform that person's behavior, you act, you talk or act or whatever. But if you do not have that capacity, then totally it's your, inner thing. And even when I'm talking to a person, that's also an inner thing, because it requires a lot of inner reflection before I talk. Yeah.
How clever the mind is, that this part, if you can correct, when I read it, now I can see it, that this part, if you can correct, वो तो मैंने उसी time reject कर दिया कि मैं, kind of correction तो possible ही नहीं है, this I can do, that I can look in myself. So when you shared, I was like, yeah, I also read it, but where was it? It was not accessible for me, because I rejected it the moment I read it. Okay, this, yeah, how weird.
नहीं, बच्चों के साथ जैसे देखो ना, मतलब especially the relationship with kids that we have, it's possible, बच्चे हमको कुछ समझा रहे हैं, because we are more receptive to, somehow I feel that we are more receptive to kids, especially as parents, or maybe caretakers, not really parents. But in adulthood, this wall comes that, you just maintain safe distance, कहीं बमबारी ना हो जाए. Yeah. But kids are receptive, kids listen. So we can exert that power of talking and speech in order that things can change.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And this ये last part जो आपने पढ़ा था अभी, उसी की बात कर रही थी ये कि yeah. So he's saying that for the fully awakened mind, now this fully awakened mind is what Tenzing Palmo also talks about, or in Buddhism, you know, bodhicitta. Chitta is, you know, referring to the mind, and which is an illumined mind, you know, a mind heart. Actually, she refers to it as mind heart, which is an illumined mind heart. You know, it's full of grace and connection with others. Bodhi is awakened, you know, that part of us which is awakened in the oneness of others. So bodhicitta, you know, fully awakened mind, for that part, it's impossible, he says, but impossible for his fully awakened mind, and usually even his practical parts, even not, so if I put apart the fully awakened mind, for even practical parts, it appears that it's impossible for his fully awakened mind, and usually even his practical parts, only escape from the general necessity, either by shutting out the problem or accepting a rough utilitarian and unillumined compromise. Okay, so I think this is separate. So he says that this is impossible for the fully awakened mind. And usually that's what happens in our lives. Our practical, so that I can do the day-to-day stuff and function okay, only escape from this necessity of resolving this disharmony, either by shutting out the problem, that I don't face it, you know, that would be shutting out, that I don't, just like, for example, I was sharing this person, you know, in our family, that let's not talk about it, you know, let's not talk about it, let's not go there. So as if I don't want to touch that wounded nerve, you know, else maybe it starts to bleed and I don't want to encounter the bleeding. So even in looking at our own wounded parts, we don't often want to encounter them. That's what we call healing, that you confront your wounded parts and embrace them and hold them, that it's okay, you know, that you got wounded, and yet you remain unwounded all the time. So either by shutting out the problem, that we don't face it completely, or by accepting a rough utilitarian and unillumined compromise. And I think our daily lives are a very, very good example of this unillumined compromise. The way we live in families, for example, you know, that's what I think Soumitra Basu also at times he shares, that nowadays families which are blood related, they are taking a lower place in relationships, because I don't have to stick to a family if I have no accordance in the family with each other. And that's why more emphasis on soul families, for example, that there are people who connect through the heart, yet they are not bonded through the blood, and more connection to that. Because in families, because of our unawakened existence, mostly it's just this unillumined compromise. And we keep on doing so much in the name of a family there. Yeah. Yeah, anything you want to add on?
Just want to say that, you know, when I read it here, it feels that that's not all right, although it is a process, but I personally have found it very helpful. And actually, I felt it was like a step up when I was able to be okay in the discord, you know, like that staying resolved in the unresolved. And I don't know if I'm missing something. I felt that really helped me. You know, like again, that thing that we say often, right? falsafi ke beech mein khuda milta nahi, right? Like, it's maybe I think there's some thin line, right? Like you cannot just keep going in and like the things cannot be corrected, but I can be corrected, right? Like where I'm standing can be corrected. Maybe that's what, yeah.
I think you're right, because I feel that it's a step in the process, and it's a very absolutely necessary step. It seems that पहले तो हम ही पूरे कीचड़ हैं, as if कि हम ही पूरे कीचड़ हैं, तब उसमें से as if कि we gather our pieces, you know, from the कीचड़ and recognize this as me, and kind of, you know, what we say about as lotus rising out of mud, for example. And then slowly, I think it would be just a matter of progressing ahead, that slowly everything becomes lotus also, that there is no distinction between the mud and lotus, right? But I think it's a long journey for each one of us, and that part to have resolution in the midst of unresolution seems like, I'm sure he has more to say, but seems like an important step. Just like we fence and protect a sapling, if a sapling is growing, I cannot keep it out in open, otherwise it gets trampled upon. But if it is fenced, then till the time it gains strength in its branches and trunk and everything, it's better that if it stays protected. So I think that protection that you were referring to stay a step back from the unresolved things, it helps. I also agree that it helps. Yeah.
Because I think in that time, I'm kind of putting my internal harmony above the outside harmonies. Because, I cannot operate like this. Like, I cannot take this anymore. So, stepping back and just at least अपना एक clarity, अपना place of stillness you can achieve, and then you can proceed from there. Before that, it's not possible.
एक और भी चीज मुझे समझ में आ रही है यहाँ पे, कि काफी बार ऐसा होता है कि although I have stepped back, outwardly I have stepped back, I'm not in the discord anymore, so to say. वहां पे ड्रामा चल रहा है और मैं अपने रूम में आके बैठी हूँ, बट मुझे लगता है we don't know the next step. Mostly we miss the parallel step. The parallel step is to also disengage from the mental drama, कि मैं सही, ये गलत, और वो गलत, ये सही. Actually, although I feel that I have separated myself from the outer discord, but I'm not really separated from the discord within the mind. So it may happen that 10 days have passed. Now look, I've been away from the outer discord 10 days, big time for us. And the moment I step out in the discord, I am the same person again. Nothing has changed. So I think parallelly, the step that we need to work upon is also to connect with our true being while I am away from the discord. So while I'm away from the mud or the discord, I am parallelly knowing my true nature. I'm parallelly knowing who I truly am. क्योंकि अगर वो नहीं होता है, if I don't parallelly become aware of my true being, the being of awareness, the being of consciousness, the next time I step into the discord, I will be back to Kichad again, myself. I am the Kichad. Nothing really has changed. While if something has changed, then by effect of that, the fragrance of being with my true nature, it will go out and do its work in the discord also. So, yeah, that's what I feel, that this parallel work many a times does not happen. So that staying away from the discord actually doesn't do anything much, apart from giving me temporary relief. That okay, थोड़ी सी शांति मिली. Yeah. And that's why he says that this is an unillumined compromise. We can do better. We can do better. Yeah. आगे करना है?
हाँ.
Okay.
For essentially, all nature seeks a harmony, life and matter in their own sphere, as much as mind in the arrangement of its perceptions. For essentially, all nature seeks a harmony, life and matter in their own sphere, as much as mind in the arrangement of its perceptions. The greater the apparent disorder of the materials offered, or the apparent dispartness, even to irreconcilable opposition of the element, that have to be utilized. The stronger is the spur, and it drives towards a more subtle and puissant order than can normally be the result of a less difficult endeavor.
You remember that talk by Dr. Debu where he was sharing that if something does not pain me much, then I don't go to the doctor and get it checked, for example. I think that's where I can relate it here, that the greater the apparent disorder of the materials offered or apparent disparateness, that there is so much of discord that it's impossible to live together, something like that. And that's why we keep on living with a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. तो slow poison बन के पूरा हमको बर्बाद करता रहता है धीरे धीरे, and it doesn't really matter much. We kind of become adapted to it. But if the pain is intense, if the I cannot stand the disharmony, if that thing is there. So I think that's what I can relate here, that if the greater is the apparent disparateness and apparent disorder, even to irreconcilable opposition of elements that have to be utilized, the stronger is the spur, and it drives towards a more subtle and present order than normally be the result of a less difficult endeavor. So more challenging a situation becomes, and that's what is coming to me, the more I have the possibility to go beyond it or transcend it.
Yeah. I've seen it again and again, right? Like the intensity, like when it becomes too much, like a regular thing doesn't change, right? We need like a cancer or a kidney failure, or like that inertia is so, I don't know, the grip of the inertia is so thick that it has to be really sharp to, yeah.
And also about a disease like cancer, because for many a times it can just lie dormant as if nothing is. I think that again pushes ones into laziness. So although भैया कैंसर लटक रहा है तुम्हारी छत के ऊपर, but we are so, I feel that the slumber and the inertia is so heavy, the dullness is so heavy, that even this name now doesn't make me move, that ठीक है लेकिन होगा तो होगा but अभी तो ठीक है ना, something like that. So it's amazing how, can I say inert, I don't know, inert or numb we can become to these pokes also.
Should I read ahead?
Yeah.
The accordance of active life with the material or form in which the condition of activity itself seems to be inertia. The accordance of active life with the material or form in which the condition of activity itself seems to be inertia is one problem of opposites that nature has solved and seeks always to solve better with greater complexities. For its perfect solution would be the material immortality of a fully organized mind supporting animal body.
I think for stone wali, God speaks, we started with the stone, so I think that's what is being referred to here through the works of nature. To a large extent, nature has solved, and this condition of active. So he's talking about the inertia in matter, the accordance of active life with the material of form, the kind of material that one has, material of form in which the condition of activity itself seems to be inertia. So when I start as stone, I am inertia. I am inertia is one problem of opposites. Now we talk that it's a life form. We are talking about a mountain and we are talking about life, but the material itself is inertia, but nature has solved it, through evolution, as we were reading in God Speaks also, that stone to a life form, like a sapling or something, which is a little more, less inertia than the stone, like more supple than the stone, is one problem of opposites that nature has solved and seeks always to solve better. So the कहानी अभी खत्म नहीं हुई those types, कि अभी बहुत progression बाकी है, and seeks always to solve better with greater and greater complexities, unicellular organism, a multicellular organism, then dinosaurs and all that moving of evolution to get forward. For its perfect solution would be I think this is where we talk about superhumanity. Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about superhumanity. Perfect solution would be the material immortality, that the substance of matter itself is now immortal. It's not that I am a mortal being with an immortality within, but the substance itself has become immortal. Very interesting. Of a fully organized mind supporting animal body. Yeah, beautiful. What all is possible?
This term material immortality of a fully organized mind. I don't think I fully get it. Material, like the material only, like the mind becomes immortal. Or when the mind is fully organized. Sorry,
मुझे लग रहा है कि usually what happens is that the mental being, I don't know, it may be wrong. It appears to me that the mental being dissolves after we drop the body. It dissolves into neither elements, and then it reconstitutes again when one takes another birth or something. तो मुझे लग रहा है that the need for the mental being to dissolve, would slowly be out of, it's like it's not required that the mental being gets dissolved, because now it's fully organized. Just because our mind is in a state which is mostly a poisonous and not really a very refined state of mental being, so it's good that it dissolves. जैसे अब रावण का, just to exaggerate, रावण का example, it's good that the dissolution of mental being happens. So मुझे लग रहा है that slowly as we grow in our divine essence, it would not be required the dissolution of mental being. So even the physical, mother says, Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about the physical mind also, that there is a mind which is physical, then a vital mind and a mental mind. So there is two kind of intricate details there. तो मुझे लगता है कि that dissolution would not be required if one achieves the immortality, and immortality would only be achieved only when it becomes divine, because if it's asuric, then it will be not, it cannot be immortal. Yeah.
I read ahead. The accordance of conscious mind and conscious will with the form and a life in themselves, not overtly self-conscious and capable at best of a mechanical or subconscious will, is another problem of opposites in which she has produced astonishing results and aims always at higher marvels. Yeah, not just mind, a conscious mind, a conscious will. Yeah, I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm doing, right? Like I'm running, but I don't know why I'm running. So when it becomes conscious, not overtly self-conscious. Yeah. So this possibility of having a conscious mind, or this evolution of having a conscious mind and conscious will in a being which was all earlier just self-conscious and capable at best of a mechanical or subconscious will, right? Again, I'm doing stuff, I don't know why I'm doing it, not in my conscious. Is another possibility, like पत्थर में जान है ना, वैसा ही हो गया ना. Is another problem of opposite in which he had produced astonishing results and aims always at higher marvels.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think as we see, just like higher animals like elephants, or they have a very or even langurs, for example, that they uh, watching a video of langurs, how if a part of the kind of a community, a person died, a langur died, and all of the langurs are flocking together and hugging each other. I mean, so this much of consciousness through evolution from starting from stone. Yeah. The accordance of conscious mind and conscious will with a form and a life in themselves, not overtly self-conscious and capable at best of a mechanical or subconscious will. Yeah, and which he has produced astonishing results and aims always at higher marvels. Very interesting. Yeah.
Like if this is not a marvel, what is, right? Like a stone becomes like a plant becomes like
Yeah.
just impossible if you think about it. I mean, it's things. It doesn't like feel it's a possibility, and yet it's happened and it's happening. So I'll go on. For there, her ultimate miracle would be an animal consciousness, no longer seeking but possessed of truth and light, with the practical omnipotence which would result from the possession of a direct and perfected knowledge. No longer seeking but possessed. Wow. Of truth and light, with the practical omnipotence which would result from the possession of a direct and perfected knowledge. What to say about this?
I think this also reminds me of how Sri Aurobindo, when he retreated from active participation, how he was actually, and which is not known to people, nobody knows about this, how Sri Aurobindo was able to exert his power over events happening in the world, World War II, or say French Revolution, or whatever is happening outside, he's able to exert his power over it. So this omnipotence, this potency that we lose being as ego, living as ego, we lose this potency and power. Yeah. And that's what we are marching forward, integral yoga, when we talk about it. So this ultimate miracle, and when we talk about a new race, or supramental race, or superhumanity, एंड मुझे लगता है कि काफी बार ना मुझे ऐसा फील होता है, मे बी रॉन्ग, बट मुझे फील होता है कि as if many a times in our greed towards especially people who are connected to works of Mother Sri Aurobindo, thinking about supramental race or supermind or whatever, मुझे लगता है that many a times too much intellectualizing and philosophizing, we become too cultish and we miss the basic step towards superhumanity, which is being human. Being fully human, and we become too arrogant in our pride, and maybe begin to take a kind of a self-satisfied arrogance that, look, I have read this much, and I am reading all these good marvelous works, and the whole focus shifts actually. So Mars tha towards superhumanity, but I'm not even human. So I think that really has to be reminded. For me, I feel that it's very good to remind myself that one cannot reach superhumanity by missing the step of being human.
I think that is the reason why, especially in Kabirji's work, how he criticized that, about all these divisions. Like, I find it a wonder that we were able to accept religion to the degree that we were able to accept it, considering how divisionary we had made it, right? Like, how is something which is supposed to be holier than thou, right? Or the path to him be dirty, right? Like, I once, I'd attended a small gathering with the four Shankaracharyas. And for me, it was like, oh my God, I'll be sitting in a room, with like obviously more people with the Shankarcharyas. But the thing that they had to say, the language that they were using about protecting Hinduism, whoever comes in our way, maar dalenge, kaat dalenge. It was like, in about, I think, 3 to 4 minutes, I was like, I'm ready to step out. But then it got hilarious, So I kept sitting with the entire thing. But is this what we have become, or is this who we would follow? And yet, say, if I talk about my father, he has that questioning mind, he has that devotion and everything. And yet, when it comes to the question of Shankaracharya, one of the Shankaracharya, he was like, no, he must be right. Don't question. Wahan jaake we should not make it dirty because he is above these questionings. I think that is where we falter, right? Because no one, including myself, is above this questioning that does it feel right? Is this right? Like, forget everything, right? Who I am, who I have read, who I am a devotee of, but is this action, this thought human? Right? What you were saying, I think it's very important because that would be such a big fall, right?
I think, and that would be one of the reasons, if not the main reason, one of the reasons where I see that most of the so-called, which I would consider that they are really enlightened beings, they actually just promote goodness and wisdom of the heart, opening of the heart, be kind and compassionate. And they are not much of a scholar, if one can say. They are not much of intellectualists, but more of genuine persons, simple persons, simple being with a kind heart, open heart. और पता नहीं, ऐसा लगता है कि कभी कभी इस रेस में, आगे बढ़ने की रेस में ना, it becomes again another ego game, and we don't even realize that the same mind, the dirty, incomplete mind, which was earlier in the samsara, so for example, is now playing the game of spirituality, and the game has not really changed. The player is the same, the ego. Yeah.
Because there it was also like, give the people what they want. They want to hear this, that look at my aggression and how much I feel towards the other religion. But we forget who am I and what was my purpose, right? What was I walking towards? And coming from Hinduism, right? Hinduism, they say, the Sanatan Dharma is the only religion in which they say that all religions are different paths to the same destination. So no conversions are required, right? Just keep walking on your path. And a protector of that religion is standing in front of you and saying that kill him and kill that, and he's taking our temple, and like, yeah, I think that's enough on this. It's just, it's a wonder too, right? Like what I'm capable of and where all I can get stuck again and again and again. Just this. And I think in the way when I see it, it's like it's beyond the mind, right? It feels like you get possessed or something. So the only thing is to just, pray, and whatever is there would be. But yeah, okay.
I think and this possession about an animal consciousness no longer seeking, but possessed of truth and light. That what, for example, I think you had shared that couplet, Tulsi Kutta Ram Ka, that one. So as if you're right now, I'm so glued to the ego that I put truth down and make the ego higher. And I think that's my win. That's my victory. But it's like being my own enemy, and to be so subservient to truth and light that in front of that, even if I have to kill the ego, I have to, give my head away, I would do that. I would not bother. I think that's what the surma or the warrior spirit also, comes again and again, that I would not even think once again, would not even give it a second thought, that if it's a matter of truth, I would let myself down. I would be subservient. And it easier said than done, because we all have our manipulations. Yes.
But it, even the words sound so beautiful even to read, right? Like no longer seeking but possessed. It's like right now I'm using discernment, I'm using my mind, I'm using my senses or whatever I can to walk towards light, right? But then, like a dog, like you said, the dog does not think, right? It just, it's overflowed with love, right? Possessed of, I don't know, love, truth, light.
Yeah.
That is also, that is my state, right? This is my,
Yeah.
this is where I will be.
Yeah.
No longer seeking, but possessed of truth and light.
Possessed.
It also gives a visual of, how the instrument is there. It's no longer seeking, but it is now possessed of what? Of truth and light, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, this again,
Yeah. Because it does not want to possess anything else.
yeah.
Because we feel that at the moment I am possessed by the ego, not by the truth. But actually, I don't realize that it's my hand clutching the ego. It's not that the ego is clutching me. And very interesting. This possession aspect is really very interesting. So as if you can't be anything else but that. So as mother says, that be good just for the sake of being good. Not that being good will get you something or will make you a more famous person or something.
I think that's a very, very, very important point here also. Yesterday only I was reading this, that whenever we get stuck in a result, that's a fall, right? Like here also you do, you work hard not to reach somewhere, or by working hard you will get this or that. But you're working hard just because you don't know how else to work. Like for the love of the work.
For the love
and I
of
think
the
this cannot be stressed enough, right? Like this, we keep forgetting, right? Like मिल क्या रहा है, मिल कुछ नहीं रहा, बस एक कर रहा हूँ उसमें जो joy है.
Exactly.
That is what I'm getting, and it's very hard for a materialistic mind within me also to keep holding on to this, right? That there is no destination.
Yeah.
The way is joy, right?
Exactly. I think वही बात जो हम surrender के साथ भी करते हैं ना, कि many people talk that, oh, I have been surrendering for 10 years now, look what have I got. So it's really interesting to now see also that surrender is joy. Surrendering any moment that you felt a kind of surrender, a sense of devotion or bhakti or anything, that itself is joy. Who wants what is to come next? Who wants it? And if there is something in me still wanting something after the surrender happens, and the goodies after the surrender, then there is no surrender actually happening. क्योंकि वो मांगने वाला तो अभी तक मरा नहीं है अंदर. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
It's amazing how good the dog analogy, how
Mm.
well it falls in.
Yeah.
Like, it also doesn't want anything else, right? Except your attention and
Except being loyal to the master.
sense
Yes.
and loyal.
Yes. Yeah.
And for him, it's not being loyal, right?
Mm. That's the way he is.
That's the way he is, exactly, right? Like it's just,
Yeah. He
it's
can't
not to
be
do.
anything but anything else. You know? He can't be
Yeah.
but loyal. Yeah, true that. Very true.
Not only then is the upward impulse of man towards the accordance of yet higher opposites rational in itself, but it is the only logical completion of a rule and an effort that seem to be a fundamental method of nature and the very sense of a universal striving. I'll read that again.
Mhm.
Not only then is the upward impulse of man towards the accordance of yet higher opposites rational in itself, but it is only logical completion of a rule and an effort that seems to be a fundamental method of nature and the very sense of a universal striving.
So I think if we remove the then from between, then it's easier to continue, because otherwise it's a bit complicated. Not only is the upward impulse of man towards the accordance of yet higher opposites rational in itself, but it is the only logical completion. Acha, so matlab, it feels like what he's saying is that this gradual march towards what he's talking about, possession by truth and light of the animal consciousness, that is the logical completion. Ki logically bhi dekho to wo theek lagta hai, you know, कि it's not irrational, like you can't make sense of it, you can make sense of it. It is the logical completion of a rule and an effort which started from being the stone, for example, you know, an effort that seemed to be a fundamental method of nature and very sense of her universal strivings. Yeah. So this is where, if we, even if we logically look back at evolution, how it has been happening, evolution of consciousness, it would appear very, very rational that this happens, that ultimately the being is possessed by truth and light. That's what is coming to me. Yeah.
Like in Upanishads, they say that this is my niyati, right? Like, and I think a lot of more words, but that is to be. There is no if and but about it, right? Like that is my fate, that I will be possessed by truth and light.
And mother in prayers and meditations also gives this certitude, that this is going to happen sooner or later. We don't know when,
Yeah,
but
your victory is certain. Yeah, your
certain. Yeah,
victory is certain.
divine victory. Yes, yes. So it's a win-win situation. But I think that's why she shares that collaborate, because if not collaborate, then it just takes too much of a detour, खूब सारी पिटाई इधर से उधर से, and then things are happening. So it can happen without pitai also, without much of pitai. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking. As soon as you without it, I said without much. And
थोड़ी बहुत तो चाहिए.
um,
Yeah.
you see, it's odd now that I'm going off topic.
Mhm.
That otherwise we use dog as somebody who's fully devoted, right?
Mhm.
कि जो है बस घुस गया उसमें. And the dog's tail, we use this as कि जो कभी सुने ही ना, जो कभी comply ना करे, जो कभी सीधा ही नहीं हो सके, है ना? How
एक ही
when
एनिमल के
हाँ,
different parts. Yeah.
और वो भी उतना ही strongly परसीव्ड है और वो चीज भी उतनी ही स्ट्रांगली परसीव्ड है.
ट्रू. कुत्ता बोलता होगा कहीं का तो छोड़ो.
Very interesting.
So shall we stop here today?
Yes, please.